What are you going to be famous for? And you need to be the best.
Larry Bass is well known as the owner-operator of ShinAwiL. If you've been watching Irish television, you've definitely seen productions with Larry Bass's fingerprints on them.
You're fired.
I give you the wrong date of birth.
I started as a 13-year-old pirate radio DJ, acted all in when I was 28, to do a documentary on a band I used to do sound for called Aslan.
That's absolutely amazing.
How can I protect you?
I'm a huge and passionate believer in lifelong learning. You're never too old to learn something new. Having different life experiences is a good thing. I do think about business, and I think the business of television doesn't think about business enough. The single most important ability you need to be a successful producer is the ability to make a decision. My inspiration came as a result of luck. When Lady Luck opens a door, you have to gallop through. We just lost a lot of money. Business lesson number one, never be caught funding everything. Gotta get paid. I wandered into a talk and that show was Pop Stars.
Dean Coyle and making me a Gemini.
And I was sitting in the room thinking, I get Louis Walsh to be one of the judges. I get Simon Cowell to be the record company. These are people I'd worked with in my music days.
So I'm just looking for my passport.
Do you think business and public service broadcasting can coexist?
Who knows after the next Trump government? That's the danger. Amazon, Google, Meta and Apple. They control over half of all advertising on the planet.
Wow.
My belief is the public service media should be fully funded from the exchequer so that we can watch really high quality Irish content uninterrupted by any commercials.
Yeah.
And that would mean you get way more viewers, you would protect Irish content, and you would have some of the best content on the planet.
If I'm a young Larry Bass, where would I start?
Probably you need to.
So if you've been watching Irish television in the last 10 years, you've definitely seen productions with Larry Bass's fingerprints on them. Larry Bass is well known as the owner-operator of ShinAwiL, Screen Time ShinAwiL, and has created some of the biggest shows on Irish television. So Larry, hello. How are you?
Good morning, David. Excuse my redness. I'm just in from the gym, so it takes me at my age a little longer to cool down.
Okay, very fair. Well, I mean, sorry, admirable that you even went to the gym. I just drove in my cozy, warm car here in the late November.
Oh, I drove to the gym.
Okay, fair. Larry, you're a hard man to pin down. You were away the last month, I'd say, at Cannes and over in America, and you're always on the road, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's. You know, the funny thing is I gave up the music business to stop traveling. And here I am traveling more now than I probably ever did. I'm in London next week at Content London. And then I'm speaking at an event in Zagreb at NEM in Zagreb the week after. So it's, wow. As we try and stretch and become more a global focused company, that necessitates more travel.
Wow. Yeah. Good to think you thinking globally. I think particularly in the television industry now, it's not even a good to have, it's a necessity to think globally.
Yeah, I think, the industry is certainly an industry that is a global industry with the various fragmentations, with the pressures on budgets, especially locally. And we all know the trials and tribulations of RTE, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Even with all the promises of more working out to the independent sector, the amounts of money they're talking about is tiny in comparison to where it was 10 years ago. So we've got to look and be more globally focused. We were known for international formats and entertainment television, non-scripted. We set out a policy of trying to get into the scripted business, because that's a global business, and that was going to give us our ability to spread our wings, de-risk a business that was too reliant on not just one type of programs, but in some cases one program.
Yeah. So interesting. And it's actually really nice to hear from sort of a business perspective, totally. But I'll go back a bit for a sec. So you started out, you said the music industry. So how did you get your start into television, or what was it that pushed you into TV from music?
I started as a 13-year-old pirate radio DJ, and that led me into doing DJ in the local area, in schools, clubs, hotels, weddings, 21sts, you name it. and more working with the hire company that I used to hire equipment from, and then working more with bands and doing sound with bands and being a trusted sound engineer. I would never trained formally as a sound engineer, but was somebody who knew to switch on the PA, use an echo, and generally get a sound out of a stacked PA system. That led me to further work in the sound and music business, and everything from, you would go in a gig, whether you're doing monitor sound, front of house sound, tour management, lighting, you would just get into that routine of working on the road with various acts. So, and on the road is a tough place. It's a young person's game. And I felt like, from a career and a life point of view, I needed to do something else. So I packed it all in when I was 28. Had never gone to college, decided to go to college then. Felt that the nearest thing to what I had some life experience in that I could usefully study was film and television, because a lot of the same requirements of production that you get in rock and roll, everything from multi-camera requirements on some of the bigger tours we worked on, is the same in TV. So I was at least able to bring some level of knowledge into something to study, and went and did film and television, what was then College of Commerce and Rathmines. Now it's called TUD. It was DIT, I think, when I graduated in Dublin. And, during that, I also started working freelance in the business with people I knew from Part Radio, actually. And one thing led to another. I was asked to help set up a new production company when I graduated college, and a post-production company with that business. Didn't love running a post facility. Certainly wasn't my game, but it was good to know and understand that business. And I left that business to set up ShinAwiL to do a documentary on a band I used to do sound for called Aslan. Yeah. And that was 25 years.
The rest is history. Very good. It's great to hear that you started. I mean, it's ridiculous to even say 28 is later in life, right? But as in, people are being forced to decide their entire career path at the age of 17 sometimes. So it's great to hear that you can go back and doing that. So if you were, so obviously you were interested in the entertainment side of things, do you think it's okay to, when you're later, like when you're hitting 30, to make a change, make a pivot, and go and do something else?
I look at it, I'm a huge and passionate believer in lifelong learning. So you're never too old to learn something new. And I think having different life experiences and bringing different life experiences into a new vocation is a good thing in many ways. So I think these days, or certainly with the advances in technology, I think people will have to pivot many times in life. I think the days of, settling down, unless you're a skilled labor, earning your crust from, being a carpenter or plumber or plasterer, where you literally don't have to change and can keep going, when those much sought after trades, other trades and other businesses, you're likely, as the world changes, and it's changing faster now than you can shake a stick at, that you're going to have to be open to pivot and change many times.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic to hear that as well, because people, I think, starting out often think that, oh, I might be too old to do it, and I totally agree. You're never ever too old. Cool. I mean, so for me, like the thing I was wondering, so you were in the documentary world, you're working on Aslan, you were music adjacent. What were your TV influences, or what do you have any TV inspirations, or what drives you to make TV shows?
I did. And look, at another thing that I'm a big believer in is Lady Luck. And when Lady Luck opens the door, you have to gallop through. I'm one of those people that I do think about business, and I think the business of television doesn't think about business enough. But for me, a couple of key tenets that I live and die by are trusting my gut, trusting your gut about people, trusting your gut about ideas, trusting your gut in making decisions. The single most important ability you need to be a successful producer is the ability to make a decision. And those decisions have to be taken in some cases on the fly. In some cases, they're difficult. In some cases, they're decisions which you can agonize on, but you've got to make the decision and keep moving forward. So in that regard, I think it's really, really important that you do need that ability to keep going. My inspiration came as a result of luck. I had set up ShinAwiL. We were working away, doing everything from the music doc we did to music videos for bands and acts, and we did many music videos. And I had set out to go and attend a television business conference in Las Vegas called NAPE, which is focused on the US market. And just before I was due to go, the partner set up the company with decided to leave because we just lost a lot of money on doing a corporate piece of work for a client that needed 7 different videos, their process video, their corporate video, etc., etc. And then the day after we delivered everything, the major shareholder pulled the plug. And that was in the sort of dot-com crash, and we learned a lot of lessons. Business lesson number 1: never be caught funding everything and then on getting paid on delivery. You've got to get paid on those type of jobs upfront, early, and often in a job. And you just move on. I didn't have a choice. I had to keep going. But I had bought the ticket and to go to the event, booked the flights and the hotel. Wasn't going to go. It was actually my wife said, look, sure, what else? You might as well. You're not going to get your money back, and you never know what you might see or do. And whilst there, I wandered into a talk, and that talk was talking about international formats moving into the US. And the format that we're talking about was a show that had started in New Zealand, had grown in Australia, and went global. That show was Pop Stars. And I was sitting in the room thinking, I get Louis Walsh to be one of the judges. I get Simon Cowell to be the record company. These are people I'd worked with in my music days. So I was in the right room at the right time. And I just went up and doorstepped the Australian producer, a guy called Des Monaghan. And he became my mentor, essentially. And Des, my first conversation with him was, with a name like Monaghan, must be a bit of Irish there. And he said, my father was from Cork, my mother's from Dublin. Let's go and have a coffee.
Wow. And
we talked about how and what we would do. And I didn't realize, but I was saying things to him that were very important to the rollout of their format. They were a television company. He was a hugely successful television principal and exec, had run TVNZ, was the youngest ever director of programs when he was there, was headhunted by Rupert Murdoch to head up Sky, and ended up staying in Australia to turn a group of statewide affiliates into a national network called the Seven Network. And himself and his partner, Bob Campbell, who had set up Screen Time, became my television mentors, introduced me to the business of television at a very, very high level. And there was a really key partnership that we developed, all because of that, accidental bumping into something I probably shouldn't have been at.
Wow. It's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And obviously everybody knows the Seven Network, famous for Home and Away. And
Des freely admits that, the only reason why they set up Home and Away was to take on Neighbours.
Wow. It's amazing. It's so interesting to hear your perspective in respect to business, because everyone obviously talks about public service broadcasting. It's very, very important, but it's also very important, like you say, to ensure that you get paid. Do you think business and public service broadcasting can coexist? Obviously, it's done so in Ireland for decades. Is that set to continue? Do you think there needs to be more of a kind of commercial view taken on TV production?
Yeah, I think, look, we've lived in Ireland with dual funding, both license fee and commercial revenue, and I can't see how that's going to change if the country is still awash with cash. Who knows after the next Trump government what way the economy will move. But if the economy is awash with cash, my belief is the public service media, not just license fee for RTE, should be fully funded from the exchequer. So that we can watch really high quality, Irish content
Mm.
uninterrupted by any commercials.
Yeah.
And that would mean you get way more viewers, you would protect Irish content, and you would have some of the best content on the planet, because no other country has that luxury. Even the BBC's license fee is under threat. So high quality, well-funded public service content, and public service includes entertainment, it includes drama, it includes sport, it includes things that the people and the public want to watch. And also in an increasingly vital part of our democracies, proper public discourse on news and current affairs. And never has it been more important than today.
Yeah.
So if we don't bite that bullet, if we don't fund public service media across all the media, newspapers, radio, commercial television, and public service television, we will have a lesser country in the future.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. It's actually really interesting. The election, we're recording this now the day before the general election, and the amount of RT News Instagram videos that I've been seeing has just been incredible. Like it's a vital part of the news feed now. And it's something I think even 5 years ago we couldn't have imagined. But we're getting right now a very healthy diet of curated news from a public service broadcaster, and that has actually
but you're also getting sliced and diced pieces that are sent through various algorithms that are not being controlled by any public sector aggregator, and that's the danger.
Do you think we could create our own social media then? Do you think there could be a public service social media?
That's a step out of my comfort zone, and I think you do need, unfortunately, to compete with the big players, and that's the biggest problem. The funding in the industry, the commercial funding, has dissipated and gone away right across the globe, because of 4 companies essentially: Amazon, Google, Meta, and Apple. Between those 4 companies, they control over half, I think something like 60% of all advertising on the planet.
Wow.
So that's why we need to have an alternative, and we need to protect Irish content.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So I suppose then, if I'm a young Larry Bass, or I'm a young TV producer that wants to set up the future 7 network, like your mentor, where would I start? Where do you see the opportunity?
I think these days you have to be nimble, and I think you've got to. So you need to be nimble. You need to spread your risks. So and I'm going to contradict myself here. You need to spread your risk. Probably you need to find your North Star first. What are you going to be famous for? What are people going to think? That is what he does really dead good.
Yeah.
That's what they are the best at. And you need to be the best. You need to be number one in one particular place. And if you can get there, and that isn't always easy, then you need to de-risk your going forward with other things that bring in other revenues and add revenue streams. Because in this day and age, one single revenue stream is a dodgy way to plan. Yeah. And for me, there's a lecture I do right around the world called "There's no business like show business," and in that saying, there's 2 businesses and only 1 show. If you don't get your basic business planning, strategy, culture right in the right place, you won't have a show.
Wow. Brilliant. That's fantastic. Okay, great. Well, Larry, I know you got to go, so I'll ask you one last question. Are you working on anything at the minute that's exciting? Is there anything cool coming up that you want to talk about? Or
well, we're delighted that we in 25 years we are still working with RTE. We've got 2 shows coming up that the public in Ireland seem to still love, which always satisfy all of our crew. You were great working with us on The Voice back in the day, David. We followed up with Dance with the Stars. We're now about to kick off season 8 on the 5th of January.
Amazing.
We've got a really fantastic cast. We've got great lineup, new additions. We have new additions for our set. So it's a really exciting time going into the new year with a big show like that. And hopefully the Irish public will still love it. We have a new series of Home of the Year, which is in the can, and that will commence for its 11th season in February. And we have a new drama series, which is currently just landed on the German public broadcaster ZDF, a procedural drama shot on the border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland called Borderline, where the two police forces have to work together to solve various different crimes. And that's now, we're writing season 2. If you're in the UK, you can watch it on MGM Plus. If you're in the US, you can watch it on Roku. And I'm no doubt the distributors will find other means and routes to get it out in the way.
Yeah.
But the thing that's given us the biggest kick and excitement at the moment is having a #1 show on Netflix in UK and Ireland. Our last RTE drama, Clean Sweep, has recently been #1 in the UK and #1 in Ireland. It's still in the top 10 here in Ireland.
Amazing.
If you haven't seen Clean Sweep, it's on Netflix now. Go and binge.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Great, Larry. Well, look, thanks so much for the chat.
Okay.
Wish you guys all the best now for the rest. So thanks a million.